Welcome, everybody. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, where we have a mission to change the world one brave word at a time. And today, to help me with that, I have some of the amazing authors of a new book called Sacred Medicine, Mystical Practices for Ecstatic Living, here with me to celebrate. First, I got to say a huge thank you to Jen Pisano for her amazing mission and vision for this book and the community. Jen, we wouldn't be here without you. So thank you for leading this amazing project. So welcome, ladies. How are you?
Awesome.
Good. So, good. Listeners, you are in for a treat. Atlantis Wolf is here with us. She is a shamanic life coach and workshop leader who helps people seeking answers to their medical, spiritual, or emotional questions with the help of her spirit guides, power animals, and galactic dragons. Carolyn McGee is the decision queen and creator of Sacred Haven Living, a path to lead women to reconnect with their inner wisdom and to live with clarity, confidence, and connection. Melissa Jolly Graves is a seer who has made it her life mission to explain energy healing and the way she sees it. And Morrigan Lynn is an intuitive life coach, shadow walker, bullshit caller, and lover of all things magical. You guys see the treat you're in for today? I do. Oh my goodness. Okay, totally random order. I am starting with Atlantis today. Atlantis, talk to us about your amazing chapter.
Hello, and hello, ladies. Hello. Thank you so much, Laura. My chapter is really about, I would say, two things. One is personal power, about connecting to your personal power. Two, it's about the very first dragon that I ever met, which was actually birthed through me. Some that I see, some have come. This one came through me. The first one, that's what made it kind of cool.
How did you get to the point where you could talk about this openly and freely?
I think I was essentially like a volcano. There was sort of this natural sense of this is your mission to talk about things, to normalize things, to be the person to talk about it first, and then let other people come up and whisper and say, I see weird stuff too. And so I feel like it was just sort of this natural feeling of rising and swelling, and I was in a class and it just sort of popped out of my mouth. To be honest, I can't say that I was ready, but it just sort of happened, which I'm writing about in a different book. And I think that once you say something really strange and unusual, it lays the groundwork for other people to feel comfortable around you. So that's what I do now.
But it couldn't have been easy, and you probably have had some pushback. How has that been, and how are you handling those kinds of moments?
So the good thing is, I was raised by a rageaholic and somebody who is extremely difficult to be around. And so because I grew up in such a harsh environment, when I became that person who was saying things, any pushback that I got really couldn't compare to what I grew up with. And so it just never felt like it really hurt me because I grew up wounded and working through my wounds. So by the time I was brave enough to come into the world and talk about things like, yep, I see spirits, I work with dragons, I see them, I see people's ancestors, people were more amazed because the way that I come to it is just in a very practical, matter-of-fact kind of a way. It's not a gift. It's not something that I have that other people don't, because I think I come to it in such a way that is just honest and one-on-one. People are more willing to talk about it.
And I thank you for that. I'll thank all of you for just stepping up to say yes to this kind of project and for sharing your unique voices, your stories, your tools. All of the magic that is in this book is unbelievable. It's going to ignite conversations that change perspective and awareness, which is world-changing stuff. So I always want to remind you how incredible you are and what incredible work we're doing to come together like this and help people, but help them together. Say, hey, grab my hands, authors. We need to share all of this amazingness with the world. And my favorite question, Atlantis has been answering it since I met her. what else is possible? What else is possible for your healing and your life and your joy and all of you? Oh my goodness, your chapters. Carolyn, talk to us about your amazing chapter.
Thank you. It's always such a pleasure to be in sacred space with you, Laura, and nice to be with all of you other ladies. My chapter is about sacred haven living. It is about living using your superpowers, using your gifts, and we all have gifts. I love that Atlantis mentioned that we are all special. Every single one of us has a superpower, or many, many superpowers. And what I focused on for this book was using the energy of our home and really creating a sacred space and living each day intentionally, you know, like honoring the trees that are in your yard if you have your own home, and honoring the energy from our guides, from our angels, and using each activity or event that happens to us to grow and to expand and to step out into the world being more and more authentic so that we can take action. You know, that's the piece that seems to be missing for so many people, is that they get the guidance, they make the choice, but they don't act on it. So this style of living allows us to do all three.
I love this topic mostly because I've been working on it in my own home, and in all of the different ways that I can work on it, it's been amazing. It's been an amazing transformation of my space, but especially the energy I wake up with every day and do my life with. And Carolyn, I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second.
Sure.
But Carolyn, I don't have the money or the resources to make my haven. What do I do?
That is such a beautiful myth, because we all have our energy, and that's the currency that is so, so important. You know, if you read the tool that I put in this book, it's using very, very simple things like small crystals. We're talking $1 each, very minimal investment. It's talking about using the energy of our voice, the energy of sound. And if you don't have a crystal bowl like I have behind me, then, you know, take 2 forks and bang them together. It's sound, it's using energy, it's movement, it's intentionality. It's what do you want to create and what do you want to release? And of course, you know, using the energy of the, you know, the 4 directions, that's free. Using our angel guides, you know, God has given, God, the universe, your own terminology, has given all of that to us. So really it's open. You can do it.
I love it. I love it. And I love playing devil's advocate. I've been doing a lot of that in the interviews lately, because I know y'all have heard all the questions.
Mm-hmm.
I know you all have heard all of the excuses, all of the questions, down to the very worst possible ones, meaning worst realities, people's truest, worst suffering, right? And this book is going to help you all with practices and tools to bust all of that stuff up, shift it up, and change the trajectory. I get so excited about what you all are offering. Melissa, talk to us about your chapter.
So my chapter is about how before we come into Earth, we pre-design who we're going to be. We set our algorithms, our actions, our reactions, our life mission, and our sacred energy. And when we come into this Earth, we lose that independence and we realize that we are a part of the whole sum. And that sacred medicine is life. It's us. It's what we gain from it. It is the moments that we can take into our hearts and remember, so that when we're having a bad day or a bad time, that we can remember those moments again and maybe cheer our soul up, but also know that we're not here alone and that we need to make these sacred connections. we don't necessarily have bad energy or good energy. It's sacred energy or it's chaotic energy. And that chaotic energy is just looking for a rhythm or a pattern so that it can be released into the sacred medicine. And I just talk about the birthing and how we come to be throughout our life.
How did you get to today doing what you're doing in the world? Tell us your personal story.
To be honest, I was born a seer. And what that means is that I can see energy, nothing still. I see angels, demons, ghosts. I see auras around people. I'm just going to say it, but when the best way to describe my life is when people describe to me what it's like to be on an LSD trip. And through a series of events, I've been through all types of abuse. My son was actually kidnapped from me. And it just got to a point in life where I just had to choose a different path. And I chose myself. I chose myself in the things that I see and the things that I was experiencing to help me through the traumatic experiences that I was holding to myself, claiming that I was a victim and not seeing that I was actually a warrior this whole time. So I took those medals and that armor and I made myself a warrior, and I started helping others find their warrior within their self and realize that this is the path I need to be on.
So earlier you said something about we choose, and then you had a laundry list of like 5. You went so fast, I was going to pause you there, but I didn't want to. So, okay, if I rewind you a little bit, you mean we choose the horrible things that happen to us? I'm going to just totally make you guys go there today. Like, because I've heard it so often and people ask that question, like, what do you mean we choose our parents? What do you mean we choose these things that happen to us? So what do you mean, Miss Melissa?
So prior to coming into this world, there are different triggers or buttons that need to be pushed that launch pain, launch confusion, launch what people call darkness. And darkness is actually our place of rest. It's the place to sit back and to analyze our life and what we need to be. So I found that in my spiritual journey, that pain is actually class. It's lessons, and it's a place of growth. And we need those so that we know who we are as characters, and we also know who we can be to others, and we can grow from that rather than have those hold us back. I'm one of those people in life when like people die, unfortunately, or, I go through trauma now and I'm like, thank God I'm leveling up. Like, this is my level up. I just got to get through it. And if I get through it, like, I'm going to be so much more amazing and courageous than I ever was before. So I'm actually more thankful for those dark times than I am for the times of light now, because the light is where we dance and we celebrate the darkness we just went through.
Thank you. I realize that any one of the subjects we talk about today, ladies, we could be here for hours and hours because these are juicy subjects. And it's why we're putting these books together. It's why we're putting the communities together so that we can have more of these conversations. Morgan, talk to me about your beautiful chapter.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I just want to say I'm so glad to be here with all you beautiful women. I'm loving every one of your stories. So just wanted to say that. So I really wanted to basically debunk the conversation around what an empath is. There's a lot of language in the world of how we can't help it. This is the way we are. You just have to kind of live with it. You're screwed. Just deal with it. There's a lot of misunderstanding. And in my journey within myself, I realized and was put upon me that empaths are made. We are not born. We are made through trauma. And the early years of the empath language has been around deal with it, shield, protection, salt baths, just the Band-Aid things. We're not getting to the root of it. The trauma is the root of it. And so I really wanted to start shining a light on that subject.
Oh my goodness, how many questions I could ask you right now. Okay, so what is an empath?
Well, in general, an empath is someone that gets very overwhelmed by the energies and emotions around them. That's that part where people say you can't help it. You're just going to kind of have to deal with it. But what it is when we disassociate and we move out of our body, energy follows energy. And so someone else's energy can come into my body if I'm not in my body.
So it would, needless to say, we need to practice embodiment. What's the practice that you teach?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of embodiment. It's the finding the safe space within self, because that is what trauma creates, is that lack of safety within self. So when we're not safe, we bolt, right? So it's creating that safe space within ourselves by working through all the traumas and the shadow work, but then also the exercises and practices of re-anchoring our spirit within our physicality.
So you come into this world and you're doing life, and Morgan, how do I even know that I'm out of my body? Like, help people understand. I know. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you all struggle with clients who don't know what they don't know. And they don't, like, the question of, well, how do I don't need any healing. I don't, right. I know everyone is chuckling, right? I love that. So talk to me about that, Morgan.
Yeah. If you have moments where you have fuzzy memories, like you go away and you come back, if you have moments where you numb out and you don't know why, if there's moments where it feels like your world closes in on you and you're gone, those are moments you can look for when you're disassociating, when you're vacating your body.
Yeah. And listeners, some of these topics are complex and deep and years worth, lifetimes worth of practice as we all understand what Morgan is talking about, understand what it means in our own selves and our own feelings and sensations and the way that we walk through the world. So, if you're having a moment and you're listening to this and you're like, whoa, okay, there's a few things I need to know more now, you're recognizing yourself, that little spark of awareness, what a gift that is. And that's what I'm hoping that we can do today by bringing some of these conversations up. And thank you all for being brave to do that. It's really important that we start to talk about it and how it feels so other people can recognize it in themselves and go, oh, I wonder what else is possible, is my favorite question ever of life. Okay. So I'm going to come around to all of you for this next question, but Melissa, I'm going to start with you. So here we are, and we picked this book title, Sacred Medicine. And medicine is an interesting word because we have certain thoughts about what medicine is. But what I want you to talk about is, why sacred medicine? What is that to you?
So sacred medicine is any energy that combines with your soul to make you feel better or to allow you to have a better life existence, whether that means decreased pain, emotions, chaos around you, whatever it is that brings you comfort enough to feel in a state of euphoria.
I like that answer. We came up in another interview. Somebody said, do you remember Mary Poppins? And it was a teaspoon of sugar makes the medicine go, right? And I was like, oh my God, I hadn't thought about that in so long, right? But it makes you know the things we were taught about medicine. It's going to be given to you by somebody else. Someone else decides what you need and then shoves it down your throat, especially if you were a kid. Oh my gosh, do you guys remember that red medicine? And I would just gag and spit it out. Yeah. That would be me. But giving people another idea that this can be something that is more their choice, right, Melissa? So talk to me about that.
Correct. So really anything in our life, we can change our thought process to be it's good or it's bad. And so the sacred medicine is learning that your soul, your life, your moment here can change at any time, and it's in your hands and it's within your mind. A sacred medicine is something that is in your mind, and this is why we have placebo, and why placebo works, because it's the mind pattern, it's the thought pattern that thinks that something is good, and so therefore it starts to work for you.
I love that. I'm always writing down things you guys say. So if I'm looking like I'm looking down, that's what I'm like, scribbling away all of your quotes. Holy moly. Atlantis, what do you want to add to this? Why sacred medicine?
So, one of the things I like to tell people when I work with them is you carry your wounds, your diagnosis, and your medicine. So, sacred medicine is something that already exists inside of you. In other words, if you hold people's hand and really walk into their labyrinth with them, they know what medicine they need. They know they need to leave the job. They know they need to move. They know they need to clean out their house. And it's really about going inside. I agree completely with what Melissa's saying. It's not medicine in the sense of it's manufactured or it's anything outside of you. It's something that begins, at least, inside of you. And you know what it is. It's just that you would really prefer to take the red syrup, the cough syrup, the any manufactured medicine is better than saying, I have to leave the job that's killing me. I have to not be with this person who doesn't want to have kids with me. It's always what you don't want to hear, but it's inside.
Oh, I like that perspective. Other kinds of medicine just seem easier. And maybe, and we want the quick fix, and we're in a very fast-paced society that wants the quick fix. However, we've been slowed way down in the last year or so. And I think that's why this is such a brilliant time for our sacred medicine book and community. Morgan, what do you want to add to this talk about sacred medicine?
Yeah, I'm very much weaving with whatever one has already said. My entire platform is around everything that you seek is already within. So I'm like, yes, I love this conversation. Yeah, I believe there is a wisdom within us that knows everything that we need, that we want, that we desire, that we're learning, like Melissa was talking about with the lessons. And when we attune to the wisdom within, we are guided to the direction that supports our highest good. We are so outside of ourselves in this world. We're very reactive, and I got to go get something so that I'm perfect. And there's all of this going outside of ourselves, but that's the disconnection. And so for me, sacred medicine is really just listening to my own rhythm and feeling into what is going to nourish me now.
So you're making me think about this a little bit. I had an amazing healer once who guided me on that path, but there was a decision I was making about a somewhat invasive kind of procedure. People get surgeries, people have to have medicine of lots of other kinds in the moment. But she just reminded me that if I was making that decision from that best place I could in the moment, that it was okay, because I've been very anti-Western medicine in my life, right? But the answers can guide you to the next best step, whatever that step may be, right?
Exactly. There's a reason we have the Western medicine surgery and such. Like, it has its place, but it's not always the answer.
Yeah. Lots of possibilities there when you start to really, really listen to what you need. And Atlantis said, you know already about these things you need to do. You know about the decisions you need to make, which gets me to Carolyn, because Carolyn has become the decision queen. So talk to us about sacred medicine, Carolyn.
So my viewpoint is that we are all energetic systems. Our body works as energetic systems. We've got a bloodstream that moves, oxygen and nutrients through our body. We've got the chakra lines that move energy and connect us to the divine feminine and the divine masculine. We have got the meridians that move energy through our bodies. So sacred medicine is allowing that energetic system, all of it, to move in a more efficient way. If you are blocked energetically, it's going to manifest as an illness. So there are ways to go inside of yourself and figure out what's blocked, and it may be that, like you said, maybe there is something that we need externally. It might be support from a healer. It might be medicine. It might be changing our food. there's all of these things that are coming from the outside that are affecting us inside. And it's not only moving energy, you know, for me, tapping is a really huge way of doing it. It's something I can do to shift my energy, and that allows the sacred healing within me.
I feel like when the awareness came that I could take responsibility for the energy, that day was such a gift to me. And but then started my lifelong rest of my life journey about how, you know. And so this book, you know, to our listeners, we're giving you a lot of hows. We're giving you a lot of different ways. And because we know that when you meet one person and hear one story, it may or may not resonate. You hear something 10 times and it may not resonate. You may need to hear it the 11th time and all of a sudden the light bulb goes off. Or you need to hear lots of different versions, but before you hear the one where you're like, oh, for some reason that feels like, to me internally, the way that I need to move, right? And that's what's so beautiful about, another beautiful thing about these books. Morgan, I'm going to start with you for this next question. I'm coming around to all of you with this one, and oh, it's a good one. So I'm going back to the title again, because we really chose some interesting words for this book, right? So ecstatic living, not just any kind of living, but we're going for the joy. We are going for the ecstasy, right? So there was a point in my own life where my knowing that there was more to life was just screaming inside of me. And I had not been listening to the whispers. So I had to get to the point where my body was like, hello, right? And it ended up being chest pain for me. Like it wasn't a baby thing. And I thought at one point that day, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have a heart attack. I'm going to end up leaving my children early. Like, what the heck? I need to start listening. But I believe that some of us have gotten really good at ignoring that. We've gotten good at the suffering, and it's time to understand what's possible in terms of the joy and ecstasy. So what do you want to share about going for the ecstasy?
There's just so much more.
Right.
There's so much more than like just freaking surviving and dredging through it and buying all the bullshit in the world. Like a good girl does this and a bad girl does this. And a good person is like, oh my God, what the fuck? I'm sorry. Can I say that?
Yeah, you can. You can.
This is like, there's so much more. And so for me, the ecstatic living really is about being so freaking aligned with not only myself, but with the flow of the universe, the guidance, my guides, the inspiration, like moving in the direction of a place that's calling me, even when I don't know why it's calling me. That's ecstatic to me. Like that makes me so excited, because I'm like, what the hell is down there? Like, let's go. And it's like, oh, I can't wait to get down there. And so it's just so freaking juicy. And we are all capable of tapping into that. And that's the whole, like, let's go. There's so much more.
Yes, you guys are going to hear that over and over from these authors. Melissa, what do you want to add to this about ecstatic living?
Ecstatic living is finding your purpose, finding your mission, putting away all of the thoughts that everyone else told you couldn't do or you should do, and reaching down into your soul and pulling out that one thing that you love that you can do, like so good. If no one's watching you, you got this. And then you can do it in front of everyone else. And that is the essence of your soul crying out to have the human experience, and knowing that it is a spirit having a human experience. So we don't have to hang on to all those human things that we want to, like anger. We don't have to own that if we don't want to. And just being excited about being here, embracing and seeing everybody else's beauty and the chaos and how the whole world's art unravels.
Yes. Oh, y'all make me feel it so much. Yeah. So one more thank you I want to give all of you is, you all are master teachers, and you all help people down the journey that of all the different ways that we're talking about this energy shifting today. And there are so many ways. I want to give people hope that if they've tried 10 things, guess what? There is an 11th, and you will find it, and it will make a difference. And guess what? You have waiting for you, like amazing stuff. And so the thank you is for saying yes to like trying to write that in words in a book. And, you know, the projects were COVID born because people were stuck inside and they couldn't get out to their healers and do their normal things. So I'm like, hey, we got to teach them. We need to empower people anyway to be able to do these things themselves. So thank you all for doing that so brilliantly. Carolyn, what do you want to say about ecstatic kind of living?
You know, ecstatic living, you know, and joyful living is appreciating each moment. You know, not getting stuck in the past, not getting stuck in the future, truly living. Whether, you know, like Melissa said earlier, whether it's one of those pain things that, you know, is helping us evolve and our soul to expand, you know, there can be joy in that. You know, knowing that there's something coming on the other side and truly believing in the silver lining. You know, that's, you know, one of my foundational things, and one thing that got me through my childhood was truly believing that there is something good that's going to come out of this. And that's the joy. That's the anticipation. That's ecstatic living. It's presence and joy and belief, you know, having that faith that it's really all happening for me, not to me.
You just read my mind. I was sitting here thinking, I'm going to ask him to comment on the "everything happens for us" quotes. Like that's right. And so a lot of people will be like, really? Like, you know, this horrible thing, that's for me? Like, why? How is that for me? Yeah. So anything else you want to say about that, Carolyn? Like how can I flip that?
You know, it's as simple as, you know, taking something and literally, here's my ear, flipping it upside down. You know, sometimes for me, I'm a very visual person. I will change something as if it's an hourglass. I'll take a crystal and I'll move it upside down so that I'm changing my perspective. I do a lot of work with animals, and, you know, when they're confused about something, they do a head tilt. They're just trying to shift their energy and look at things from a slightly different perspective. And that's what the invitation is for this, is look at it slightly different, anticipate. You know, joy and anticipation, they're yummy, they're fun energies. And if you can retrain your body to anticipate what the good is going to be, it allows the journey through the not so good to be a little bit easier and lighter.
Love
because
that.
It's going to happen. It's part of our process. It's part of why we're here.
To experience all of those things. I love that. Thank you. Atlantis, how about you? Talk to me about ecstasy.
So my first business was actually Bliss Medical Massage, because I think of ecstasy and bliss as being interchangeable, and it was named after a Maxfield Parrish print. But I think of the state of ecstasy as being close to God, close to grace, close to spirit. And I think of it as a moment when you can go through your human experience, but then you get to the point where you remember your spiritual soul experience is also happening with you right now. And it's when those two can come together. So sometimes we go through life and we're just paying the bills and walking the dog and going to the grocery store and putting chicken on the table. And sometimes we remember that there is another living, another parallel living that's happening, where we're trying to learn something, we're trying to bump into other people that maybe we bumped into before in other lifetimes, and learn things that we just haven't mastered yet. And to me, there comes that moment where the ecstatic soul living and the physical living come together. And it's where you remember that you are a spiritual being having that human experience. And it's the living part. So you can have a moment of ecstasy. You can have your LSD journey, peyote moment. And that can be induced, that can be breath work, that can be something. But the point is, how do you move from that ecstasy moment into living How do you put that into action? How do you live knowing you were a Toltec healer? So what? So what? You were a murderer, you were a goddess. The point is, does that make you more compassionate now when you look at children or where you look at someone who doesn't like you? What are you doing that you're just taking that moment of ecstasy and living it and weaving it into your physical, human, mundane life?
I had the same healer as I was talking about earlier say something similar, but what she was saying is, people who choose a life of meditation. She was using the Buddhist monks as an example. And she's like, that's easy. It's the people in the real life that are the warriors. It's the people doing the real everyday problems, challenges of life. I'm like, okay, yeah, I feel that. I feel that.
Well, they always say too that before I was enlightened, I chopped wood and carried water.
Yes.
After I was enlightened, I chopped wood and carried water.
I like that. I have heard that too. Okay, ladies, let's go into this last question. Carolyn, I'm starting this with you. So it's easy for us to sit here and talk about bliss and ecstatic living, but the reality is there are a lot of people who've had a really hard year, especially this last year and a half. Oh my goodness, almost 2 now. And they might be listening, but feeling stuck still. So I'd love for you all to just offer the listener a place to start if that's where they still are. Okay, so, again, devil's advocate, like, hey, I love talking about bliss and ecstasy, but, I'm in chronic pain and have been for a really long time. Like, how do I get out of this? Where is the stepping stone that I need to step on first? So you guys get the question. Carolyn, how are you going to answer that?
So the first thing that comes to mind is read this book all the way.
Yes.
Right? Because
read the book.
Read the book. I mean, there's a lot of brilliant wisdom in there. There's a lot of compassion, and there's a lot of examples. Not everybody has had a really hard journey, but a lot of healers, a lot of people who are in touch have had challenge, have had pushback, have had people that don't believe them, and have had physical illnesses to overcome. So read the stories or talk to somebody else that you feel a little connection to understand, because we're all here as models. That's the way I look at my role in the world, is I am a model to show people that they can overcome some really horrific things. And they can be happy during that and also at the end of it. And that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not a train. It's a guide, it's a lantern, it's something to bring us forward, because that's life. We've all got support. We're not alone. Even if you live alone, you're not alone. This whole process with COVID, I hated the word social distance. For me, I wanted it to be physical distance, because we need to be social, we need to be connected. And this book series that you've done, Laura, has been so powerful, and Zoom and technology, and just checking in with your angels or guides, whatever you want to call them. We're not alone. And I think that's the truth that people really need to know.
You had me at read this book. It's all good there. Morgan, tell the listeners one way to kind of enter into this if they're stuck in the pit.
Yeah, my first place to start everyone is always going to be awareness. It's the awareness of self. How do I feel right now? Because most of us, like especially the empathic community, we're overgivers. So we're always asking, how are you? So we forget, how are we? Like, how am I? And so just starting a daily check-in with, how do I feel right now? What would support me right now? What do I need right now? That starts to flourish into a relationship with yourself where you choose yourself, you are proactive for yourself, you have better boundaries. Like, that's such a beautiful cascading effect, but it's always going to start with, how am I right now?
Yes, that's really simple and a profound simplicity that really works. And I love it when we can bring it back down to just a very simple way, and the now is the only way.
The only thing.
So yeah, that's awesome, Morgan. Thank you. Atlantis, how about you?
I always tell people step away from technology and go into the forest. The easiest way to get in touch with your chronic pain, your chronic problems and everything like that is go into nature. I mean, for me, it's the forest and the rocks and the trees and the rivers and wherever you are, whether it's the cave, the sand, the desert, leave everything built by humans and go out into nature and lay on the ground, walk barefoot and tell all of your problems to nature. And if you spend an hour in nature, you will feel better.
Well, I will second that motion. Nature is one of the best and easiest and fastest ways for me. And I made that a daily practice. It has to be part of my day. And also as a writer, I know all of you probably resonate with when you're connected like that, the other stuff moves through. That's creative. Your words move through, your writing moves through, some of your brilliance moves through when you're connected like that. Awesome, Atlantis. Thank you. Melissa, you are going to close us out today, girl. So what do you want to offer the listener who's still stuck?
Well, first of all, I have to say that if you're listening to this video, you're watching this video, you're in front of all of these beautiful goddesses. The divine energy already chose you and affirmed to you that whatever it is that you're going through, you have the power within you to change that moment, to make this sacred. And you have already, if you're watching, you're hearing, you're experiencing this at all, you are already the warrior of your life. You've made it through. And so have that wisdom and that power within yourself to know that right now you are here to make a change. And change is coming, and the book is coming, and we're coming, and we're not going to leave you alone. And we're not doing this for ourselves, guys. We're doing this for you. We already know this, but we know that the divine energy sees the worthiness inside yourself to make you want to change. So have that confirmation, that affirmation, and that place in yourself after this video or right now to take that deep breath and to say, I'm here, I'm seen, and the divine is already connecting with me and bringing me forward to start my healing journey.
Yes, what a beautiful way to close out. We'll give you a little round of applause. Oh my goodness. To all of you authors, thank you so much for what you're doing in the world and for being here today to share it with everybody. Thank you. Thank you. So listeners, y'all know that I've got you hooked up with these women's websites right down below. So all you have to do is scroll just a little bit and you can take the next step and come into their world, check out what they're doing because they are doing some seriously badass stuff in the world. And one of the huge benefits of this community and of this project and the things we're doing here at Brave Healer Productions is that Jen Pisano has a Facebook group where the prospective readers, and interested parties can come and carry on this conversation. So you guys can come rub elbows with the authors, ask your questions, and then as soon as that book comes out, that will be a place where you can do that as well after you read the chapters. On September 8th at 10 a.m. Eastern, join us for a live stream book launch party. It'll be on the Brave Healer Productions Facebook page. We're going to have all of our authors there to share their wisdom and inspiration, and we're going to have wonderful giveaways for our book purchasers that day. And if you're listening after the 8th of September, well, that means you got to get your butt to Amazon because the book is ready. Grab your copy as soon as you can. And lastly, everybody, remember, your words change the world when you're brave enough to share them. So what if that thing you're still a little afraid to share is exactly what someone needs to hear to change or even save their life? It's time to be brave. See you next time, everybody. Bye, ladies.